Gotta take the time to cut them off, I need help. I know how to make the girl go.
So good day, Mom. So let's all tackle about the operating system. So the first one we need to discuss is the single user. So a single user is an irreducible dynamic partition memory manager and operating system relocates the program. That is, all empty blocks are gathered to form one single block to large memory enough to accommodate some or all the jobs waiting in the queue. So single user or single tasking. One operating system that allows a single user to perform only one task at a time is called the single user or the single tasking operating system. So functions like printing a document, downloading image, etc. can be performed only one at a time. So advantages of single user or the single tasking operating system. So the first one is this operating system occupies less space in memory. So next is the disadvantages. It can perform only a single task at a time. So next is the single user or the multitasking operating system. So an operating system that allows a single user to perform more than one task at a time is called single user multitasking operating system. So example include the microscope Windows and Macintosh or operating system. Advantages. So this is the advantages of the user multitasking. So the advantages is it is time saving as it performs multiple tasks at a time, building high productivity. So the disadvantages is this operating system is high complex and occupies more space. So mas nindot to ang single user or ang katong single siya. So next is the fixed or static partitioning and operating system. So an operating system memory management is the function responsible for allocating and managing computer's main memory. So memory management function keeps track of the status of each memory location, either located or free, to ensure effective and efficient use of primary memory. There are two memory management techniques, so the contiguous and the non-contiguous. So the contiguous technique executing process must be loaded entirely in a main memory. Contiguous technique can be divided into two: the fixed or the static, or the variable or the dynamic. So the fixed is the oldest and the smallest technique used to put more than one process of the main memory. In this partitioning, number of partitions, non-overlapping in RAM and fixed, about size of each partition may or may not be same as the contiguous location. Since no spanning is allowed, repetitions are made before execution and drawing system failure. So this is the example. So 3 is equals to 3 MB, or the internal fragmentation rather. So block size, so mabasa na to diri sa picture ang internal fragmentation. So advantages of fixed partition. So easy to implement the al- algorithms needed to implement fixed partitioning are easy to implement. Its supply requires putting a process into certain partition without focusing on the emerge of internal and external fragmentation. So little OS overhead or the over system overhead. Processing the fixed partaining require lesser excess of indirect computation power. Disadvantages disadvantages of fixed so internal fragmentation. So main memory used in the efficient any program, no matter how small, occupies an entire partition. Can cause internal fragmentation. So external fragmentation is the total unused space, or as stated above, where the virus partition cannot be used to load the processes even though there is a space available but not in the categorized form. So limit process size or the limitation of degree of multiprogramming. So limit process size is the process of size greater than size of rotation and a main memory cannot be accommodated. So limited on degree of multiprogramming, rotation as a main memory are made before execute or during system and figure. So dynamic partition. Dynamic partition are the user space partitioning system for Android. Using this partitioning system, you can create dynamic partition. So dynamic partitions are the user space partitioning system for Android. Using the partitioning system, you can create, resize, or destroy partition during over-the-air or OTA updates. With dynamic partitions, vendors no longer have to worry about the individual size or partition used as system, vendor, and the product. Instead, the device located as super partition and sub partition can be sized dynamic within it. Individual partition image no longer have live empty space for a feature. So next is the fit. Our first fit, best fit, and the worst fit. So presentation, operating system prepared by the first fit or the FF, a stores allocation scheme are usually for memory. First fit fits data into memory by scanning from the beginning of available memory to the end until the first free space, which is at least big enough to accept the data, is found. So this space is then located to the data. So any leftover becomes a smaller, separate free space. If the data to be allocated is bigger than the biggest free space, the request cannot be met and an error is generated. So the flow chart for the first fits start analyzation memory block analyzation memory west F job. So next is the algorithm variable or pertaining FF. First fit. So advantages of the first fit is and the disadvantages. So simple tends to produce large place block towards the end of the address space on internal fragmentation. So best fit or the BF. The best fit deals with allocating the small free quotation which meets the requirements of the request process. This algorithm first research the entire list of the free partition and consider the smallest hole that is adequate. It then tries to find a hole which is the close to act process size needed. So the flowchart for the best fit the stored and rest memory block into memory west, and the advantages of EF and disadvantages. So this is shown the screen below. Or the internal fragmentation, slow allocation, small deallocation tends to produce any useless tiny fragments not really great. Work will win most allocation of the small size or the relatively simple. So Wist fit or the WF. The algorithm research for free space is a memory in which it can store the desired information. The algorithm collects the largest possible free space that an information can be stored on. So that is bigger than the information needing to be stored, and it stores it there. There is directly opposed to the best fit algorithm, which research and memory is much the same way of before. So advantages of worst fit and the disadvantages. So the internal fragmentation tends to break large from blocks such as the large partition cannot be allocated. Works best if allocation are of medium size. Relocatable dynamic partition. The in recota, sorry, in relocatable dynamic partition, memory manager as the operating system locates the program. This is the empty blocks and gather to form a single blocks of large memory enough to accommodate some of all the jobs waiting in the queue. Thank you.